If you are moving to Portugal from the United States on December 1st, and you were offered an apartment lease at the end of July that's going to start on August 1st, and the landlord wants 4 months up front in the form of 2 months rent and a deposit worth 2 months. Would you agree to those terms? Well, if you said no, congratulations, you're not completely insane. But if you said no, you also don't have a place to live. My name is Howie. This is Positively Portugal. Let's get into it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the process of getting to Portugal as you reach your end goal and some of the requirements. I'm not really going to get into every single detail here, but one of the things that has to happen is your VFS appointment, and that should be approximately 3 months before your move date. So that right off the bat tells you that since they are requiring a signed lease, they are requiring a physical address, a place to live, in order for your residency visa to get granted. That tells you that you're going to be paying for 3 months of rent before you move into your place. Which also means if you're renting, you're still paying for your own place. So basically you're paying for 2 apartments, 2 homes, for 3 months. Now, my goal is December 1st. Okay? So the beginning of September is my VFS appointment. And, now's the time. I need a lease. I need a place to live. So I started looking near the end of July, as per the company that is helping me move, because I'm not doing this on my own. And the more that things happen, the more time that goes by, I'm learning that, thank God I didn't do that on my own, because I only would have screwed this up. But, they're looking for 4 months up front now because they still want to get people to move in for August. Well, hell, it's August already. And these landlords still want people to pay for the month of August. Now, the company that's helping me move has found me a few apartments. They haven't worked out. I'll tell you about 2 of them. One is in Portimao, and I know what you're thinking. Didn't you make a whole video recently about how you've changed your mind and you're not going to move to Portimao directly and you're going to go to Lisbon? Yes, I did make that video. And that's still my goal. That's still what I want, to move to Lisbon. But I'm also starting to see that, hey, just because I want something, well, this is kind of like anything in life. Just because I want something, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get it. The thing with Lisbon is the real estate market is like scorching hot. It is absolutely scalding. It is on fire. As soon as a listing goes up on places like Idealista, Remax, Century 21, Imo Virtual, they're gone within hours. And if they're not gone, meaning that they just didn't take the listing down, the apartment has been rented and it's just that. The landlord did not take the listing down. So that happens to a few apartments that catch your eye, and all of a sudden those apartments are gone and you keep looking and you're over budget now. And I cannot sit here and recommend that you go over budget. You really should not be flexible with this if you're coming from a country that is on another currency from the euro. You don't know when your currency is going to crash. So this is not something I would say, oh, it's okay if you go a little bit over your budget. No, you really shouldn't. You should not do that. The only people who should consider that are people who are already in the European Union and using the euro. So I'm starting to find that Lisbon, as much as I want it, as much as it's my favorite city in the world, as much as it's cheaper for an international mover to deliver to, as much as it's going to be easier for my cat, Lisbon might not happen. And I'm actually starting to open up my search to places that I've never been to, which is a whole other story in and of itself. Now let's talk about this apartment. Let's talk about this apartment in Portimao. Well, it was 700 euros a month, 2 bedrooms, which I loved. I honestly thought I was going to be getting 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, furnished, comes with cable TV and internet. I loved that idea. But at this point in time, it was July 30th when that offer was presented to me, and they wanted it for August 1st. Yeah, that doesn't exactly work out. You know, I got to drop $1,600 a month on my own rent here, and this landlord wants 4 months up front. So that's 2,800 euros. My $1,600 apartment, let's say approximately 1,500 euros. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, really. Let's see. There's other beginning of the month bills here, like electric. That's the primary one. There's other stuff, of course. So what we're looking at now is at least 4,300 euros that I would have had to have dropped in the span of 2 days. Which, look, I can do it. But if you think I'm going to be happy about that, and if you think I'm going to be comfortable about that, well, you're wrong. I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty well. But, dropping 4,300 euros unexpectedly in the span of 2 days, well, I mean, that's kind of something that a rich person would do. Now, there's no money tree in my yard. So, I'm not wealthy, okay? I'm an average guy. I'm a regular person. Maybe I'm doing better than the average person. I don't know. Look, I don't count other people's money. Counting other people's money, by the way, is the fastest way to get your ass kicked. So, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. And the company I'm working with, my representative there, she's trying to really convince me to take it. Not quite getting my situation. And I think in an email the next day, I kind of clarified my situation to her, like, hey, look, I'm not a rich person here. This is simply not going to fly. Well, I just kind of said to myself, this apartment is not by the beach. It was more than a mile away, 1.8 kilometers. And I just said to myself, I think that if I don't take it, it's still going to be there on September 1st. Taking a chance. Well, guess what? I was wrong. It got rented out. Somebody actually agreed to the August stipulation. Now, my theory on that is that it was a Portuguese person who's already there and just looking for a new apartment. I don't think that it was a foreigner who would have agreed to that term. So more power to them. And as much as I liked the actual apartment, look, I didn't like the area. It was by the river, not by the Praia da Rocha, which if you're moving to Portimao, you want to be by the Praia da Rocha. Now, it wasn't as bad as the Old Town, and look, if you know anything about Portimao, the Old Town's not nice. It's just not a good place. So, I lost that apartment. Okay. And with all the trouble I was having with Lisbon, I said to myself, well, okay, maybe I need to start opening it to other places. I don't really like the city of Porto too much. I guess it's absolutely fine to live in. I was coming there twice as a tourist, and it just didn't really do anything for me. And like I've said before, they're the nicest people in the world in Porto. I love people from Porto. It's just the city itself I didn't find very exciting. Well, I said to myself, I know the city of Porto. I've been there twice. I know it pretty well now. I guess I will open up my search to Porto. And what I'm finding is the Porto real estate market, as much as it's not as hot as Lisbon's, those apartments still move very fast. And I'm running into the same situation. And as much as I talk about how I'm not going to go over budget to live in Lisbon, well, I'm not going to go over budget to live in Porto, and my budget to live in Porto is less than it is to live in Lisbon. I'm sorry, but I am not going to spend 800 euros a month on rent in Porto. I simply don't like Porto enough to do that. So, all right, I'm having trouble with Lisbon. I'm having trouble with Portimao. I'm having trouble with Porto. I just said to myself, okay, let's see what's going on in Braga. I have never been to Braga. I don't know the first thing about Braga. I know it's north of Porto. I know there is a bus that goes directly to Porto's airport. And I know it's not the worst place in the world. I did some research, and actually 94% of people who live in Braga like it. So, okay, I mean, I've seen pictures, I've seen videos now, although I've never been there. I decided to open the job search to Braga. I mean, that's not working out very well. The apartment that I had an interest in, that got snapped up pretty quickly. We'll give that more of a shot. There's not as many apartments opening up in Braga because, look, it's not a place where where an international traveler or somebody who's moving to another country looks to go to. And then I just started losing my mind. I said, okay, I'm having so much trouble. Let's see what's going on in Aveiro. I don't know anything about Aveiro. I never been there either. I know it's a very small city, but it's got those canals. It's very scenic. It's very picturesque. People seem to really like it. They call it the Venice of Portugal. So I see another apartment there for 700 euros a month. And right off the bat, I said to myself, I am not paying 700 euros a month to live in Aveiro. I'm just not. I've never been there. It doesn't seem big enough for me to really enjoy. And I could probably spend 700 euros a month to live in Porto. So therefore, I'm certainly not going to pay 700 to live in Aveiro. But the apartment I find, 700 euros a month. I didn't really find it. The company I'm working with found it for me. And it's the same situation. They want 4 months of rent up front. And they call it, okay, 2 months rent, a deposit of 2 months rent, and whatever. However you want to word it, it still equals 2,800 euros up front to live in a city that I've never been to and I don't really have an interest in living in. So where does this lead me? I don't know. Again, Lisbon is still my top choice. But now what I'm starting to find is this isn't a matter of me trying to move to Lisbon. This is just a matter of me moving to Portugal. And as much as I might not like it, it may not even matter where the city is or the town. I mean, they call Aveiro a city, but I mean, look, for someone who's from New York, Aveiro's not a city with that population. It's a town. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Aveiro. I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure I would love it when I visit it. I don't necessarily know if I want to live there, but I'm sure it has many great qualities to it. So I'm not trying to knock Aveiro at all. And I'll make it a point to have that be one of the first places I visit if I don't move there. The other thing going on is that, okay, so you need to have the signed lease in order to get your residency visa application approved. But you also need other things. You need to have travel insurance or traveler's insurance, whatever they call it. I don't know at this point. I'm being pulled in so many different directions that I'm just losing my damn mind here. Okay, well, you can't get any travel insurance policy if you don't have a flight booked to Portugal and a return trip to the United States. One little problem with that: I don't know where I'm moving. I don't know where my home airport is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Lisbon. I don't know if it's going to be Porto, Faro. So I can't book a flight yet, which means I can't get the travel insurance yet. And everything, or not everything, but a lot of things are just hinging right now on getting a signed lease. And I don't know where we're going with this. I'll get there eventually. I'll find something. I know I'm going to end up paying more than I want to pay, at least in terms of rent. Fortunately, as August goes on a little bit further, it's not going to be required of me to pay for August. So that apartment will end up sitting there empty for 3 months. I'll still have to put 4 months down on it, in all likelihood. And look, I don't know what I could have done differently. Could I have made a trip to Portugal this month to look at apartments? Sure. Yeah, I could have. But let's say I go to Lisbon, which would have been my goal. So that would have been the only city that I would have traveled to. And say I look at 10 apartments. Maybe I don't like any of those 10. Maybe I apply for a few. Maybe I like 1 or 2, but I just don't get it. Maybe somebody beats me to it. Maybe the landlord says, well, this person's already here in Portugal. I consider this more stable. And what I'm seeing now is a lot of these apartment listings, they want a guarantor. Are you out of your minds? I'm 45. Who's going to be my guarantor? My father passed away 10 years ago. And you know what? I probably make more money than the majority of these landlords. So I'll tell you what, you want a guarantor from me? How about this? You show me your guarantor. Let's say my oven breaks a week after I move in. I need to know that you're financially stable enough to either fix it or replace it. Don't ask a 45-year-old man who's making probably significantly more money than you for a guarantor. I get that Portugal is one of the hottest real estate markets in the world right now. Hell, maybe it is the hottest. I don't know. I haven't looked that up. I haven't researched it. You know why I haven't researched it? Because I don't have time. I'm being pulled in so many different directions. I have so many things to handle, to take care of before December 1st, that I don't know where the hell I'm going with anything right now. But for anyone to think that getting an apartment in Portugal is easy, well, guess what? It's not. And sure, that trip that I could have taken, well, if I don't find something, then I piss that money away on a trip. The airfare, the hotel, the food, any kind of travel expenses. So I'm comfortable with how I did things, but you know, when you're 4 months away from your move date and you've already decided that you're not signing the lease again, well, it feels like the walls are closing in on you. And man, this is not easy. I am so stressed out. Between that, my job, real life, there's just everything, and there's nobody there to help you. And, you know, the crazy thing is, I know that Portugal is still like the easiest country that you could work with, that you could do what I'm doing. Spain's gotten a little easier with their digital nomad visa, but Spain is still significantly harder than Portugal is. So if this is the easiest, hell, I could only imagine what would be the hardest. And you know, to sum it up, I'm not having fun right now. I'm not having a good time. This is not what I thought was going to be taking place. I honestly thought that getting an apartment would be one of the easiest steps in the process. Maybe I underestimated that, but let's say you rule Lisbon out, you take Lisbon out of the equation, then yeah, I mean, who wouldn't underestimate it then? Because if you're not even looking for Lisbon, who would think that finding an apartment in Portugal would be this difficult? But that's all I got for now, folks. Just wanted to update you on my situation here. It's been about 2 weeks since my last video. I'm not making as many as I wanted to, and hopefully I'll have another one coming out in the next few days. But I can't make any promises because I'm just going back and forth with this company that's helping me move on apartments all day before my actual job starts. So, again, being pulled in every different direction here, and I'm just trying to survive at this point. But I want to thank you all for watching. If you want to know more about the process of moving to Portugal, one-man story, and Portuguese football, please hit that subscribe button. Subscribing to a YouTube channel is the #1 way to help that content creator. So I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Take care.